Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 9 of remote learning. Whoop, whoop. I hope you had a great long weekend. And yeah, I don't have any school information for you guys this week, so we'll just get right into it. We're going to continue with Buddhism this week. Next week, we will start modern religions and cults, which always seems to be a hit. Just follow the PowerPoint for week 9 and part 2 of Buddhism. For alms this week, I want you to go outside on a warm day and create a fun message for someone in chalk or put a sign in your window encouraging positivity. So I gave some links in the article below and in the rack, so you can look at that. There's no Teams meeting this week because it's a short week, but next week I'm going to have one so that I can talk to you guys about some stuff on cults. And the 3 Marks of Existence is due on May 22nd. And that's a Google Doc. And this is just kind of finishing up the central teachings of Buddhism. So we're going to look at the 4 Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the 3 Marks of Existence. So there's one video that I want you to watch. It kind of goes over the basic things that I'm going to cover as well, but kind of in a more succinct format. Okay. So we'll go through the PowerPoint. So Buddhism part 2. So Buddhism and Hinduism, if you've noticed, they do share a lot of similar ideas. They're both very cyclical. We've talked about that before within world religions. Like Christianity is typically very linear, but a lot of the other religions and faiths look at very like a cyclical view of time. So there's ages of creation and destruction, and there's many different worlds, heavens, hells, things like that. And it's this wheel of rebirth again. So for Hindus, they believe in moksha or salvation, but it's called nirvana for Buddhists. And so you get onto that wheel of rebirth, and then you kind of try again until you hit that age of enlightenment, that ability to have enlightenment. Okay. So Buddhism and Hinduism. Now, Buddhism rejects that institutional structure of Hinduism. It believed that you didn't need to achieve salvation through the divine. You can only get it through humans. It also rejects the caste system, which is obviously a major part of Hinduism. And so and Buddhism 100% rejects that. They don't believe that anyone is higher than someone else. So where is it practiced? It is mostly practiced in Southeast Asia. It originally came from India and the Indian subcontinent. So it starts around here, and then it started to shift out into all of these different countries. Now, Buddhism is the 4th largest religion in terms of number of followers. There are 2 types of Buddhism, but we'll talk about that at the end. Okay. So meditation is also taken from Hinduism, and that's a very key part of Buddhism. You need to be able to meditate in order to be a Buddhist, and they kind of talk about it being like one of the biggest things that you have to do as a Buddhist. So meditation quiets the mind, and so you can try and enter that spiritual world and achieve enlightenment. Now, lots of other religions also have meditation. Christianity has meditation. Catholics have meditation. Some people find it a very useful form of prayer. Some people don't really like doing it, but for Buddhists, it's kind of necessary. So they really focus on the act of breathing to kind of bring about a state of mindfulness. It's a quiet place. It's a calming place. You can have a visual object like a flame. For me, the times that I've meditated with Catholic prayer, I've actually done it with in adoration with the Eucharist, and so I have Jesus in the monstrance, that kind of big gold thing that you might see at church sometimes. And so for me, that's kind of my focus on. But there's also sometimes they'll do it in flames and things like that. You can also recite or chant a phrase. And so like an example for Catholicism would be like a very typical meditative prayer is, Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, for I am a sinner. And so Buddhists would do a similar type of thing. They would recite the same phrase over and over and over again as part of their meditation until they enter kind of like a trance. Okay. And within this trance, they look at kind of discovering themselves and what can they find within themselves. And so there's 3 marks of existence, and this is what your assignment is on this week. Looking at no self, so not having a self, you can't focus on yourself, which is that the essence of Buddhism is that there is no essence, which is very confusing. But the whole idea is that we find reality in the spiritual world, and we're trying to leave our human world to find that. Okay. And then there's impermanence. So the world is constantly changing. So is the person. And so we can't always focus on having that permanent part of ourselves. And then dukkha, which is suffering. Now, suffering, is a natural result of no self and impermanence, because if nothing's permanent in the world, and if we can't find anything within ourselves, then generally that leads to suffering. But these are the 3 marks of existence, and that's how we find our destiny, is by kind of letting go of these things. Samsara, so we've talked about this before with Hinduism, but it's not technically like a rebirth like you hear within Hinduism, but it's actually called a transference, and they call this karma. And so it's kind of the same. It's basically the same meaning as Hinduism. It's that law of cause and effect. But basically, your energy gets transferred into a new being. So you're not really reborn, but you're like moved on. Okay. Okay, and then there's like the central tenets of Buddhism. So there's 5 precepts, and then if you're a nun or a monk, then you have 5 more. And so your karma, doing the right thing, is based on these 5 precepts. So typical things for most religions: don't kill anyone, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't lie, and don't drink or use drugs. Typical for most religions are those 5 kind of basic things, okay? But then, like I said, if you're a nun or a monk, you have 5 more. So they're not supposed to eat after noon. You're not supposed to watch dancing or shows. You're not supposed to use perfumes or like necklaces or earrings and things like that. You're not supposed to use a high or a soft bed, which would make me sad. I really like high beds. And you are not supposed to accept gold or silver, okay? And so that's 5 more things that you would follow if you're a nun or a monk in Buddhism. And then the 4 Noble Truths. So they went over this in the video that you would have watched last week, that Buddha found these 4 Noble Truths, and that's how he attained enlightenment, which basically led him to the Noble Eightfold Path. So to live is to suffer. People suffer in life all of the time. Suffering is caused by desire. When you want something, you can't have it, then you suffer. But you can end this suffering. Suffering can end, and the solution to ending the suffering is through the Noble Eightfold Path. And these are the central teachings. So within the Noble Eightfold Path, I'm going to get to it in a second, apparently. I talked about this before, though. But dukkha is suffering. And so you can't attach yourself to things in life because you'll just have suffering. And so you need to avoid that. So the Noble Eightfold Path is how you can avoid that suffering and how you can end it. So there's right views, basically learn the content of Buddhist teachings, have a good attitude, have proper speech, so be polite and be kind and don't swear and things like that. Right conduct, so obeying those 5 precepts, or if you're a nun and a monk, obeying the other 5. Right livelihood, so don't steal from people, don't be a robber, have a good job. Maintain mental alertness, and so go on that path of trying to achieve enlightenment. Right mindfulness, and then right meditation. So those are all things that you have to do in order to end that suffering. And then there's divisions of Buddhism. So there are several different ones. There's the Theravada, which is the way of the elders. This is the teachings of the Buddha. It focuses on the 4 Noble Truths, and it's very much a monastic division. And then there's the Mahayana, which is the Great Vehicle. This is the largest division of Buddhism. It regards Buddha as a divine figure, and he did not believe that he himself was divine, except as things have gone on, it's kind of changed. And so salvation is given through the Buddha. And they also have bodhisattvas, which are kind of like an idea of a priest, and so they provide this assistance to people who need it. And then there's also the Vajrayana, which is fighting fire with fire. And so the Dalai Lama is a member of this sect. It's mostly Tibetan Buddhists, but it looks at, instead of dulling the senses, kind of encouraging them and getting them excited and things like that. So that's kind of the third one, but it's a much smaller one within Buddhism. Okay, so this week, like I said, your alms, go outside on a warm day, create a fun message in chalk. If you don't have any chalk, make a poster or maybe make a post or something like that, something positive. You can even do it on Snapchat or something like that. Just put a positive message encouraging people to do the right thing, because we're all in this together. Watch this video on the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Complete the assignment, which is pretty easy. And I did make a copy of it this week, so I apologize that I messed it up last week and I didn't make a copy of your assignment. So if you already completed it, you don't have to do it again, the one from last week. But I made a new one with a copy of it. So if you can't make a copy of it of yourself of the old assignment, just grab a new one. And I'm sorry, that was my bad. So I'm giving you guys some leeway on that for handing it in. Okay. And that's it this week. There's no Teams meeting, like I said, because it's a short week. Keep in mind that you should be compiling alms for your assignment in June. And please hand in missing assignments as soon as you guys are done. You can hand in that alms assignment sooner if you want. I think I actually have to change that due date. I'm going to let you guys know, but we need to have our marks in sooner. And so the alms, which I had as June 22nd, I'm pretty sure I have to change it to like the week earlier, but I'll give you guys more than enough time. Like basically that'll just be your assignment that week is complete your alms assignment and hand it in. Okay. And that's it. And I hope you guys have a good week. And we will definitely have a Teams meeting next week to talk. Bye.